Hi there, welcome to Football-Oranje. It's podcast 86, and we're here now at the last 16 of Euro 2020. It's really exciting times, Dutch football fans. We're happy that you for joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube, SoundCloud, or iTunes. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not watching on YouTube, you can of course see us. It's me and Mike here, and we're talking about the last 16 tied today. But of course, if you're on YouTube and you want to be able to download our podcast, you can go to SoundCloud and you can download it so you can listen to us on the go. If you have been missing out on all of our match reactions recently, we've done a match reaction to each of the last of the group games for the Netherlands in Group C, and there'll be one again after the Czech Republic game. Mike, it's great to have you here, and you're wearing your shirt again. You're full of Netherlands shirts. How many have you got?
3 official ones, and then a few retro ones to bring out as well. I've got a little collection to represent a few of the tournaments that I've watched. I've gathered a few of them already.
I do love the colour on that one, to be fair. Just to set it apart. And yeah, we're going to be talking about the Czech Republic. We're obviously giving the Netherlands flavour on the game, and it's just opened up this half of the draw, which the Dutch are in. If they can beat the Czech Republic, which on paper doesn't look the most difficult tie that they could have been handed, they could have been put into the third place from the group of death. And then after Czech Republic, it's looking like it'd be Wales-Denmark and a semi-final against possibly a Germany or an England who aren't on top of their form. And it is very easy to look at that draw now and to get very carried away, isn't it?
Yeah. I think everyone, yes, as much as people say that you want to, in a major tournament, you have to beat what's in front of you, and sometimes you have to beat the big teams if you're going to win it. I think everyone would have taken this draw. I think there would probably be a few nervous people. I was watching the Sweden-Poland game thinking it's all nice and easy. Sweden 2-0 up and it's cruising. And then when Lewandowski scored those 2 goals, I was getting a bit nervous because Poland were attacking. But yeah, it's lucky that Sweden got the winner there. And yeah, Czech Republic, it's not going to be easy. I think they're physical side, they can definitely cause Netherlands some problems. But if you handed me Czech Republic or Portugal as the 2 options, I'm going to pick Czech Republic every single time because it's the sort of team that Netherlands have been facing already. They're on par there with Ukraine and Austria, that sort of level side. And yeah, Netherlands will go into that game as favourites, and it's just up to them to turn up and show up on the day.
The Dutch have got history against Czech Republic though, and not a particularly good history. I think they might have lost more games than they've won against the side. But can you just fill us in the last couple of meetings that the Dutch have played against Czechs?
Yeah, I was actually there in Amsterdam the last time that they played the Czech Republic, and it was the day that they were officially knocked out of Euro 2016. Van Persie scored an own goal and they lost 3-2 at home. I was there in the crowd, and yeah, it was a shocking game. And it's a dark day for Dutch football. And now, 6 years later, Netherlands football is on the rise again, and they can show that against Czech Republic. So, Czech Republic that stopped them from getting to Euro 2016. Now it's Czech Republic standing in the way of Netherlands going to a quarter-final. So it's going to be a very interesting game. And I think this Czech side's a lot different from the ones that Netherlands have faced in the past. It's probably one that hasn't got the bigger names that Czech Republic maybe have had in the past. But still a physical side with an informed striker and a tall, powerful midfielder who can score goals as well. So they're definitely ammunition in this Czech side to cause Netherlands a lot of problems if they're not at it. And, they can't give away chances like they have done in the previous games because Patrick Schick's on good form and he'll take them.
We'll talk about the Czech Republic side in just a moment. A couple of comments from people that are watching with us live on YouTube, just talking about your shirt, Mike. Didara says you got a nice 2008 shirt from the Euros. And Georgios was saying that it's a nice jersey and they should have won that Euros in 2008. For those who aren't watching on YouTube, yeah, that he's wearing this 2008 shirt, and I do like the trim. So Czech Republic side has got Tomáš Souček, the West Ham midfielder. He's been supreme this season. Really good midfield force. I I gotta say, I watched them against England. I didn't notice them quite so much. Perhaps I wasn't watching it fully, or the England games have been rather boring. If you ask me, I'm English. So I'm gonna watch those games as well as the Netherlands games. I didn't notice them so much. There's some other Czech Republic players too, which of course the Dutch have got to watch out for. But where do you see the main problems being? And Schick has definitely come up in the names that have been tossed around with the Czech Republic side. He plays for Leverkusen, a good player. Which players are you most worried about, Mike? And especially considering how the Dutch play, who worries you the most?
Yeah, I think that Patrick Schick's obviously the one that's in form. He's the goal scorer, and somebody like Souček can cause Netherlands some problems if he's getting on the end of crosses, and to get dead ball situations. That's what they'll want, is try and get in there and try and get goals from crosses. I watched the game against Scotland. I thought, it was quite even, the game. Scotland actually created quite a few chances, just couldn't take them. But then it was a cross for Schick's first goal, which was a header. That's for strength-wise. And then the second goal is just a freak. Absolute amazing finish from halfway. So I just hope that Stekelenburg stays in goal for 90 minutes. But yeah, the Czech side have got some players that we know well. Michael Sadalek, the PSV midfielder, he's in the squad, and Thomas Kalas. I'm sure he's played in the Eredivisie before. Well, yeah, he's played with Vitesse before, so we know him. I think defensively, this team can be got at. I think Scotland, as I said, created chances against them. Croatia scored a lovely goal against them, and England beat them. They've only conceded twice in this tournament, but Netherlands' attack is where the strength lies. They need to try and put this Czech defence under pressure, and then not give away any silly free kicks around the box where they can exploit their height through Souček and Schick. So I think that'll be key.
I watched Grealish put the cross in against Czechs where he scored the goal. They seem to be able to be got out in wide areas. Was it the same against Scotland? I know Scotland play the five at the back as well, which the Dutch do too. Is that a way you think that the Dutch can attack the Czechs?
Yeah, I think that when Scotland fullbacks aren't the same strength as a Denzel Dumfries and Patrick Van Aanholt, sadly they didn't have Kieran Tierney in that game, and they didn't decide to start with Billy Gilmore, so we don't know if a full strength Scotland would have been even more effective against them. But Andy Robertson had a lot of joy on the left against Czech Republic, and he was creating pretty much everything. So it'll be down to the wing backs. Memphis, if he gets out wide, it depends on who plays up front with him. But I think on the sides is definitely where they can attack, and Denzel will be key again if you can get him in behind the Czech defence. I'm sure that they'll be wary of that. I think that they've watched Netherlands games in the group stages and know how big a threat that Denzel is on the right if they allow him to just steamroll into the box like Ukraine, Austria and North Macedonia did in the first half. So they'll probably try and tighten up, but then the more they pay attention to Denzel, the less they'll pay attention to the strikers, and that will also play into Netherlands' hands. So we'll see what lineup that Frank de Boer goes with, whether he goes with the big man, Weghorst, if he goes with Malen, who is very impressive against North Macedonia. So that's a tough choice that Frank de Boer has, but I think either of those lineups can cause Czech Republic a lot of damage, especially on the counter or from the wide areas.
So perhaps a 5-3-2 will be a good way of attacking Czech Republic. If you've got Denzel Dumfries is on form, and Van Aanholt has proven himself to be someone who can play really high at the pitch and knows what he's doing with the ball when he receives it, unlike Wijndal, who hasn't impressed so much in those areas. Matijn, who's watching live with us, says we must not underestimate Czech Republic. However, apart from Schick and Souček, they are a very, very unimpressive side. They'll sit back and hope that Schick can score from 50 metres. Yeah, I think with the wide areas, it's important for the Czech Republic to sit back. And that means if you invite that pressure, the Netherlands are going to be able to attack. And you know that with these attacking players they've got, they're going to take chances, they're going to score goals. The players that the Netherlands have, they're used to attacking defensive sides. They've all played in the Eredivisie. They all know what it's like to break down teams. You've got players like Memphis and Wijnaldum who are potent, scoring goals. They're actually two of the most informed players in the whole competition, along with Dumfries on the right side. So attacking-wise, it's looking fantastic. The concern for me comes when the Netherlands are trying to defend for 5 minutes, and the Czech Republic can create a lot of chances to the middle, which De Roon has been criticised for not cutting out enough of the chances. Liam is asking a question which you were talking about just then, Mike. Marlon or Weghorst, what do you think De Boer will do? I like Marlon against North Macedonia, but it was North Macedonia. And I also quite like what Weghorst did against Austria. Who do you go with?
Right now, it's a toss of a coin, I think, for De Boer. You got the pace and trickery of Marlon, who interacted well going forward at times. And sometimes there's a bit of sloppy play, but again, it's the same with Weghorst. Sometimes there's sloppy play where the passes break down. If you're going for physicality and thinking that you need somebody in that check box who's going to put himself about, then you go with Weghorst. Or if you go with somebody that's going to maybe get in behind the Czech defence, if they play a high line, then you're going to have to go with Marlon. So it's great to know that, you know, Netherlands have these options, because we're debating before the tournament or just a few years ago, how Netherlands have no strikers. Now the biggest decision is which striker do you play up front? And Frank de Boer has two great choices there. So whichever one he goes with, I think that they'll be very motivated to play. I think it's a shame for Luke de Jong that he's out now, injured in midweek. He won't play any part, but it was the right decision to bench him and make him a reserve, because he isn't of the same quality as Weghorst or Marlon. So right now I can't call it. I think one part of me thinks that he's going to go with Weghorst. Just a slight part of me thinks he might go with him. But yeah, we won't know until Sunday, and Czech Republic won't know either. So that's a good thing, that De Boer's going to keep them guessing. Are they going to come up against a strong tall forward? They're going to come up against Marlon, and they won't know until the last minute. And you know, De Boer's not going to tell us that. So that's one key decision that he has to get right.
I think unless one of the strikers is having an absolute blinder of a game, I can see both of them having a role to play. One probably play 60 minutes, the other will play 30 minutes. But it depends on the situation of the match. If it's 90 minutes, it's 0-0. You can see one of them getting a longer period of time on the pitch. But they're great options to have. One brings more pace, and like you say, the other one brings more power and hold-up play. I think he'll go for Weghorst. But like I also said, I think Marlon will get plenty of time on the pitch to prove himself, whether the Netherlands are winning or not. I think if the Netherlands are winning, you put Marlon on and you can use him on the counter-attack. It's a really important player to have. If you're watching along live, or if you're not watching on live, do give us a comment about which players you would start. Would you go with Weghorst? Would you go with Marlon? Comment along, and we'll get back to your comment no matter what. And if you can't comment on YouTube or SoundCloud, then you can send us a message on Twitter and we'll reply to you. The other decision that De Boer's got to make is Gravenberch or De Roon. Obviously, De Roon's played the first two matches, and Gravenberch came in possibly because he needs to get some minutes, but also because De Roon was on a yellow card suspension for the last 16 had he played. And Dara actually said that we might have more of the ball against the Czechs, so therefore, who is the right player to play?
Well, we had more of the ball against Ukraine. We had more of the ball against Austria. We had more of the ball against North Macedonia. I know he went with Gravenberch, but De Roon probably would have played if he wasn't on a yellow card. So I don't think that observation really makes a difference with De Boer. I think he's going to pick De Roon. I think he comes straight back into the 11. I think he's such an important player for De Boer's system. I don't necessarily get it. But then against North Macedonia, they did create chances and they got through the middle so easily. So if you play with Gravenberch and you play with Frankie de Jong, they need to be tighter in front of the defence. I think he's seen that against North Macedonia, and you'll want to go conservative. He's not going to want to make any mistakes with his lineup, so I think he will go with De Roon in there. I think 10 of the 11 places are certain. The one that's not is either Marlon or Weghorst.
And in the comments as well, Rob thinks that Marlon should start because of the quick breaks that England were having against Czech Republic.
I think it works if he starts with Weghorst and they get a goal, and then Czech Republic have to attack and say in the second half, and that's when you bring on Marlon. Fresh legs, fresh pace. Czech Republic will have to push forward, and Marlon will get in behind. I think that tactic could work.
Yeah, I agree with that too. His pace can be really important. I still think Weghorst carries that extra sort of element in the side, because Memphis can also bring the pace. But it's really difficult making that decision because there's such different strikers. But I'd be so happy with either of them in the team. I wouldn't mind at this point. Shahid's asked a good question here. given the path that the Netherlands have got to the semi-finals, do you think they will give extra pressure to the Netherlands players now? I personally think it won't. I think it will spur them on.
Yeah, I think right now they probably think that they've got a great chance of making the final. And we noticed the Netherlands team's very motivated. The players always speak about their motivation. It's a good group. They're all together, and the motivation is to get to the final. And I think that the draw has been kind to them. We now need to see that the players step up and do what's expected of them. And I think that they'll know that this is a wonderful chance for them. And we need to see it on the pitch. The one element we've not discussed yet is it's the first game that will be outside of Amsterdam. So luckily it's in Budapest, and I think that a lot of Netherlands fans will be allowed to travel there to actually watch the game. But it's the first game that's not on home soil, so we'll see if that element comes into play. But I don't think it really should. It's not home soil for either team, so it's neutral ground. If Netherlands fans can get in there and make a lot of noise, then really cheer the guys on. But yeah, the players will be very motivated for this game. It's their chance to get to a final and make history. So yeah, I think they'll be very motivated.
I think also that you make a point that it's not on home soil, but in Budapest, so many Netherlands fans will be allowed in, and I'm sure they'll make a brilliant noise. It's less distance for Czech Republic fans to travel, but we know what the Dutch fans are like. They're a partisan crowd, and I'm sure that it will feel like there's a bit of a home crowd feel to it. A bit like in an FA Cup final, you've got lots of fans behind you. Max asked a good comment. Do you think Gravenberch underwhelmed against North Macedonia? The British commentators weren't that positive about him, and they just thought that he was having an okay game. I think that's a little bit unfair on him as a whole, in given his season he had with Ajax. But in a Netherlands shirt, he didn't have his best performance, to be fair.
Yeah, I think a lot is expected of Gravenberch when he plays, especially leading up to the tournament. I think a lot of people would have seen him play for Ajax in the Champions League. And you had some podcasts leading up to the tournament, some of the big British ones, putting him forward as one of the young stars to watch in the tournament. And when he got his first start, probably people would have been expecting absolute fireworks from him, but he's not that sort of player. I think he did his job okay. I think he did leave gaps at times. I think he did lose the ball a few times. I think he did okay. It's a lot of pressure starting your first game in the European Championships at 19, but I think he was decent. He's got that game out of his way. If he does get another chance to start, I'm sure he'll be used to it, do more, and he'll be able to grow into this side. I've seen some criticism of him in the Dutch press as well, saying that maybe, I think it was Marco van Basten who was a little bit critical of him, saying that maybe he thinks it's the same sort of level that he comes up against with Ajax, and he wasn't not prepared for the game. But we'll see if he gets another chance, because I think he's a great player. I think he is one of the best young midfielders in Europe, and I think he's got a great future ahead of him. And this is the start, so I think we'll see a lot more of Gravenberch in a Netherlands shirt, and a lot more of games that he dominates. But yeah, it wasn't the best performance from him, but it wasn't certainly bad.
Yeah, great. Jurrien Timber's been the one that stood up for me. I can't believe how much he's progressed since he just came into the Ajax team in this calendar year. Well, what an insane progression he's made.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic talent. Right now, you say he's the guaranteed starter in that Ajax defence now. It's hard to see Skurs getting back in at the moment, because I think Martinez, Blind and Timber are definitely the three that are ahead in the pecking order. And the fact that Timber can even go out and play on the right as well and do just the same job, just even better, because he came on against North Macedonia, played a right back. Even that shot he scored from was great. And yeah, I think that it's just insane to think how many centre backs Netherlands can produce at the moment. So it's just a position that's absolutely stacked. You didn't think of Skurs, you think of Botman didn't make the squad, and players like that. So Teze's coming through at PSV. So you've just got so many options at centre back, and it's great for the future. By the time the next World Cup comes up, there's probably be even more bigger selection headaches for whoever's in charge, whether it's De Boer or whoever it is going forward. So yeah, it's great to see Netherlands producing so many centre backs. We just need to produce in other positions, and then it'll be all set for years to come.
It's such exciting times, all these players coming through. I can't believe how well they're doing at this tournament so far, probably because of the fact that Boer's in charge, but they are really doing well. This tie against Czech Republic has got to feel a bit like they are the same standard of team that they have been playing so far. Ukraine, Austria, they're a team they should be beating. We can sit here again when they've played the Czech Republic, and if they'd have been knocked out, then we say that they obviously must have underperformed to have gone out to a Czech Republic side. But really, they should be beating them. And the Ukraine game was difficult, but Ukraine did score from 2 goals out of nothing. I think that this game is going to be similar level, though, where if they can manage it carefully and not concede too many chances, it shouldn't be that much hard work against them. And then it's against Wales or Denmark. Denmark emotionally charged. We'll talk about it if they get there, of course. But again, a team that they should be beating. It's when you come up against a Portugal, a Spain, a France, that we've been talking about all along, that they are going to be the side that the Netherlands have to really improve against to try and make waves in this tournament. And had they faced a team from the group of death in the last 16, or an Italy or Belgium in the quarterfinals, we would have been very pessimistic about the tournament. But there's people in the comments saying that this draw feels like there's something special that could be about to happen. I know that we talked about we shouldn't get carried away, but overall, this tie against Czech Republic, there's no excuses, right?
Yeah, it's famous last words to say stuff like this. It's knockout tournament football. Anything can happen. But watching the Czech side against Scotland, one thing I noticed is that they don't have much on the wings, and in terms of pace and trickery. Something that Netherlands struggle with is players getting in behind or getting run at blind. Patrick Schick seems physical, seems like a good presence, but then you've got De Ligt on him. He should be able to marshal him. Then you've got De Vrij as well. I can't see Czech Republic having any really pacey players. I might be wrong. I've not watched a lot of them, but I don't think they have anyone that can really run at the Netherlands defence as far as I've seen. They don't seem to be that sort of team, whereas Yarmolenko causes problems for the Czech Republic. So not Czech Republic, for Ukraine, and players like that would get in behind the Netherlands defence. Players that going forward that you'd have to face, maybe England in the semi-final, someone like Raheem Sterling getting in behind Daley Blind would be an issue. So yeah, for me, Netherlands will be favourites for this tie, going into it, and rightly so. But I can't underestimate the Czech Republic side, because you underestimate teams like this in this stage at your peril. And if Netherlands aren't at their 100% best, then there is the chance that they will go out. They'll all be sitting here gutted on Sunday night thinking what a chance that would have been to reach the semi-finals, and then you throw it away. So let's just see what happens on Sunday. Netherlands are favourites going into it, and let's hope that they produce.
A very diplomatic answer, Mike. Fair enough. I can see that if it goes wrong on Sunday, we're going to be really mucked off at the Boer for getting things wrong. So we'll see how it goes. But we can be optimistic that it'll go far.
I did say in the last one that De Boer's safe now. After going for the group, I think if he does lose this game, then there is still a chance that he could get replaced. If this was Portugal they were coming up against and they lost, I think the KNVB would have been like, oh well, fair enough. But with this route, maybe there'll be some tough conversations if they do go out.
That is fair enough. Max comments along lines saying thank you for us. Thank you, Max, for your comment too. Of course, if you do want to support us in any other way, you can still get yourself a Football-Oranje wristband. You know, since the Euros has started, they've actually gone off the shelves even quicker than before. So if you still want yourself one, you can get one in the YouTube description or SoundCloud description. It's a link at the top, or on the Football-Oranje Twitter page. Of course, you can follow Mike and I on Twitter too. Our Twitter handles are right here on StreamYard. I was going to ask you a prediction, Mike. Czech Republic, Netherlands, because you'd be able to get up the wings, but you don't see the Netherlands going and scoring 3 or 4. Of course not. It's going to be a tight match. Well, what is your prediction right now? I sense a diplomatic one. Very safe prediction.
2-1 Netherlands. Let's go positive and say that they'll win 2-1. I'm excited for the game, but I know I'll be nervous wreck for it. And so I hope that Netherlands will be comfortable and score a couple of early goals, but I just can't see it. I think it'll be a nervy clash, and let's hope that Netherlands come out on top.
I actually think it will be a draw in normal time. I think they'll win in extra time. I think it'll be 1-1 and then a 2-1 win, like you said, but in extra time. And I'll go with Memphis, given the heroics. I'll see what happens. I also wanted to get your opinion on De Boer then in general. If he's won 3 out of 3 in the group stage. Now the dust has settled on those 3 games. I know that we still need to see how he gets on against Czechs. I actually put out a poll on YouTube, and the reaction was very much, we still need to see how he gets on in a game like this. But he has impressed with what he's done with the team. You can criticise him as much as like before tournament. I did too. But the formation has worked in some ways, and the player selections have worked too. He's managed to get some really good performances out of some players who are good at club level, but has just elevated them that extra step.
Yeah. Everyone was predicting the Boer disaster beforehand, and that's not happened. They're in the last 16 with a chance to make the quarterfinals, and that's, you can say it's because of the players on the pitch and the motivation that they have, but the Boer has to come into it and get some credit for the way that they're playing. And yeah, I think that if that Ukraine game, you have to go back to that first game against Ukraine. If that had stayed 2-2 or gone wrong, the pressure would have been so high on De Boer after that, throwing away a 2-goal lead. Everything would have been finger pointing to him, and he would have taken all the blame for it, whether that's right or wrong. But it's not happened. We've won 3 games so far. You say that Netherlands have done what's expected of them with the level of opposition, but you can also say that De Boer has done very well. And yeah, I think he deserves credit for now, but it is now a case of how far can we get? And this is a game that on paper Netherlands are the favourites for. So if Czech Republic dominate the game and Netherlands go out, then De Boer's got something very, very wrong, and he'll deserve the stick that he'll get afterwards. But for right now, it's just get behind him. I think it's not a time to start criticising De Boer. I think now it's just time to support every single factor of this team and get right behind him going into this knockout stage. Let's try and enjoy it, and hopefully it's going to be something great at the end of it.
The players, I agree with you that they are possibly playing for the shirt. They are players who are passionately playing for their country, and it takes De Boer out of the equation. De Boer's the one to put them in this formation though, and I could see in training before the tournament that they were using Dumfries, for example, as a player who's going to come in from the right side and score goals and make chances. So this is a planned thing that was meant to happen. I'm looking at the coaching staff that are with De Boer, and his assistant coaches are Dwight Lodewijks and Ruud van Nistelrooy. They possibly have a part to play in this. I'm saying this because of how poor De Boer's done in his career. I wonder if these guys have made a difference. But De Boer also includes a lot of the players in decisions that are made in how they play and, for example, who plays, things like that. What impact do you think the players have had? And on top of that, what impact do you think Lodewijks and Van Nistelrooy have had on the squad?
Yeah, I think that Lodewijks, he was there from the Koeman days. He stayed on. I think he's a good coach. He's a tactics man, if you like, and yeah, I think he's a great asset to the national team. And I think Ruud van Nistelrooy coming in will just somebody that the players can relate to and really get behind, and they know he's been at the major tournaments, he's done it before, and I think he'll be a great motivator for them, especially younger players in nervous moments. I think seeing Ruud van Nistelrooy and being able to chat to him will be a huge help. I think on the field, Netherlands just have leaders everywhere. You talk about at the back, you've got De Ligt and De Vrij. In the midfield, you've got Frenkie and Wijnaldum, I think's had an outstanding tournament, and he's been a great leader. And up front, you've got somebody like Memphis, who is also a great leader for this national team. So I think if you've got that core spine of players in there, then also Daley Blind as well. Let's not forget him as well. He's in there as well. That core of players have led Netherlands to this stage, and you'd like to think that those guys are the ones that will get Netherlands going forward, even despite of De Boer and maybe some strange tactical decisions or like that. So yeah, I think that it's it's a collective unit. I think everyone right now is doing very well in their job, and it's going really well. If Czech Republic take the lead, say on Sunday, let's see what happens when this Netherlands side has some adversity against them, and see if they can bounce back, because that was the big thing under Koeman, is when they went behind, you always felt like they could come back and take a draw or get a win. So if the Boer side go behind, does the heads drop, or do they get themselves up and pick themselves up and go forward? So we'll see what happens on Sunday. But I think right now they all deserve credit for the way they've done so far in this tournament.
And for a coach that's perceived as very negative, the fact that he's beaten this record of the Netherlands scoring 2 goals or more in 10 successive games, which has never been done by Dutch national team before, that's a fantastic thing for De Boer to do, to prove people wrong about his tactics. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I am now his biggest fan. I'm not. But he has definitely quieted some people down with what people think of him. Is he a defensive coach? Well, after this record, maybe not. He scored 3 against Ukraine, 2 against Austria, 3 against North Macedonia. He didn't just sit back on a 1-0 lead, did he? So do you think that he's changed the way he works with players, or is it maybe the teams they've been facing?
It could be. It's a factor of both. It's hard to say stereotypes, and a lot of De Boer's criticism when club football was his arrogance and
how he works with players, right?
How he works with players. So maybe with the Dutch national team, the players that he has, that doesn't come across as much as it did abroad. And you saw how he worked at Ajax, except for the last season, he was a success. And maybe it's the type of players that De Boer works with. Maybe some people don't like the way he handles himself in training. And you got a lot of people that when he was at Atalanta saying they were getting annoyed, or maybe an inter that De Boer was trying to take free kicks and showing them how to do it because he was pinging every single one in the top corner, then criticising the players for not being able to do that. But I think Netherlands players would probably react quite well to that. I think it's working well at the moment. And then on the other hand, yes, it's the opposition. Netherlands haven't faced a group of death here. It's not like they've come past France, Italy to get to this stage, and they've beaten everybody. They've beaten teams that they're expected to beat. So it's, again, you can only beat what's in front of you, and they've done that. I kind of parallel it to what England went through in the last World Cup when they got to the semi-finals. They didn't exactly have the hardest of draws, but they got there. And this is what Netherlands have at the moment. They've got through a good group, and the pathway to the semi-finals isn't the toughest. And now you just need to make sure the Netherlands do the job on the pitch.
The draw is one that is akin to what England had. They then beat Sweden and Colombia on their way to the semis. The Netherlands have got a similarly not quite as difficult run. I think people will be breathing a collective sigh of relief looking at the draw compared to what, for example, Belgium have got. Don't they face Portugal and then possibly Italy in the quarterfinals, then possibly France in the semi-finals, and then the Netherlands in the final? But it could have been so much worse. Yeah.
I think everyone's looking at it now and going, right, Netherlands will get through that. They'll get Denmark or Wales. I think both of them would be really tough games. I think Gareth Bale could cause Netherlands' defence quite a lot of problems. And they've looked like a plucky side. You've got Aaron Ramsey in there. You've got Kiefer Moore up front, who I think would give De Vrij and De Ligt a good game. And you got Denmark, obviously very, very motivated at the moment and running on emotions. So that would be tough ties. And after that, then you're looking at a game at Wembley against, on paper, you'd say England or Germany. So, I mean, that's Netherlands, Germany, two massive rivals. I know England seem to think that they're Germany's biggest rivals, but, it's Netherlands, Germany that really hate each other. So that would be a big grudge match in the semi-finals at Wembley. That'd be a great game to see. And then going on in the final, then anything can happen. But yeah, it's hard not to, but let's not get too carried away. And let's try and just beat what's in front of you, and that's Czech Republic.
Yeah, I can see how you're seeing it, Mike. But if you don't get carried away, you can't have loads and loads of fun with it. So let's get a little bit carried away and enjoy it. But it'll be even worse if they lose against Czech Republic on Sunday, if we're going to get too carried away. Yeah, it's a great run ahead of them, and we can only say that the Netherlands have got a very good chance to go far in this, and they've got to make the most of it. And given the group stage performance, I think the confidence levels have raised in De Boer, and once the players are on side with that too, they were a little bit sceptical of the formation change, but now that this seems to be more on side with it, the sky's the limit. So let's see where they can go. De Jong's just started to come into form. Wijnaldum's having a great tournament. So is Memphis. The defence is working. We know the limitations of it with the fullbacks coming back, but also Blint having not played 20 minutes. And we know that he's on the pitch more for his footballing ability rather than his one-on-one defending. But there are great strengths of having Blint on the side, De Vrij and De Ligt and five at the back. A final question, Mike, before we head on to the end of our podcast. A couple of people have been asking about De Jong, Luuk De Jong, that he's injured, he's out. But with three fit strikers who are ahead of him anyway, is it worth even replacing him? And if you were going to replace him, who would it have been with?
So he can't be replaced now. They can't call up anyone into the squad, so he couldn't be replaced, even if De Boer wanted to, which I don't think he would. But yeah, I think you're right. I think De Jong, he came on off the bench in the last, say, 10 minutes of the first two games. And I think that De Boer now has other options that he can use, and he's basically third choice striker to partner Memphis. So I don't think he's going to be missed that much. I know that Wijnaldum said today he's a big presence in the dressing room, with his experience and the way he always points out things that are going wrong. But on the pitch, I don't see him being that big a miss when you've got Weghorst and Mount come in there, and both of them can give De Boer different tactical options. So for me, we all know that I'm not Luuk De Jong's biggest fan in the national team, but I do feel it's a shame for him missing out on the rest of the tournament. Just like it's a shame for Donny van de Beek to have to pull out before the game started. But for me, on right now, I don't feel like either of them have been missed in the squad. I think Van de Beek wouldn't have offered much, given his season that he's had. I don't think Luuk De Jong would offer any more than Weghorst or Malen would.
I think it's very strange that the team has changed so much since the March friendlies. I thought for so long that it was going to be Klaassen playing behind De Jong, a couple of wingers, 4-3-3, Wijnaldum left back, Krul possibly in goal, or Sillerson. The team has changed so much, and for the better.
Oh yeah. To think that a couple months ago, going into it, Brian Babel wouldn't have been here. Tim Krul's not starting goal, and Davy Klaassen hasn't even played a single minute. You'd think it's shocking, and you'd think we're mad if we predicted that. But yeah, I think De Boer's got his squad selection perfect so far, and I think Davy Klaassen, he's a good midfielder. He's had a good season. But yeah, I think De Boer's got it right. I think the options he has off the bench, I think the only one that I'd say he got wrong was Quincy Promes. I think he looked very poor against North Macedonia. He messed up a couple of attacks. I wouldn't want to see him getting any more game time for the end of the tournament. And if you had someone like El Ghazi or maybe even Stengs, then it might have been a bit better. But yeah, because we're all talking about Quincy Promes maybe being the second choice right wing back and going into the tournament, but that's not really panned out, where you've got Dumfries in great form and Timber as well as an option. So I think Promes is one that you could say that was the bad pick, but other than that, I think the squad selection has been great, and he's got his squad selection right so far, with Stekelenburg doing well in goal, and then it's the rest of the team doing very well. So yeah, it bodes well for the rest of the tournament. It bodes well for the World Cup qualifiers coming up as well straight after it. So there's big games coming up after this tournament as well, and I think De Boer will stick with the 5-3-2, and we'll see if it reaches the Netherlands top in the World Cup group as well, because they've got some tough games coming up there against Norway, and then eventually they'll need to get revenge against Turkey as well.
Too right. Last comment I'll put up is from Rob. Let's go on and the Danes feel-good story. Beat England at Wembley and shut the French in the thrilling final. A great way to finish there. Let's get a little bit carried away. Let's enjoy the tournament. They don't come around very often, especially if you're a Netherlands fan recently with the last couple missing. Yeah, and let's enjoy that. Let's embrace this tournament. And the Netherlands have got a great chance to go very far. If you are enjoying our podcast, our match reactions, do hit the like button right now to let us know that you're enjoying them and you want us to keep doing them. Subscribe to Football-Oranje if you're new. Go over to our website if you're not a regular person going over there and see what we're up to over there. All of the latest reactions from the players are on there. And we've got player ratings after each game. So do keep in touch with what we're doing at Football-Oranje, because we're following the Euros very closely in terms of the Netherlands' point of view. Mike, just get your last thoughts and feelings on the Czech Republic tie.
Yeah, as you say, I was trying to enjoy it. It probably will be a nervy watch, but as you say, tournament football doesn't come around too often, and I've seen some Netherlands teams go far in the knockout stages. I've seen some bomb out early on. You think of Russia, that game, so let's hope it isn't one of those, and let's hope it's a 2010, 2014 run that we can really get behind the side. The draw's been kind. Now it's just going, let's go and win that trophy.
Fingers crossed. A comment from Georgia saying, "Hup, Holland, hup." I think we'll end there. See you in the match reaction after the Czech Republic game, and enjoy the game too. It'll be a tense one, but let's hope the Netherlands get there. Thanks for watching.